1990, a scientist did something that sounds cruel. He took a room full of mice and stopped feeding half of them every other day. On purpose. He was not trying to hurt them. He was testing one question. Would mice on a fasting schedule die faster? Or something else entirely? Here's what actually happened. The mice who ate nothing every other day did not die faster. They lived longer. In some cases, up to 27% longer than the mice who ate every single day. In mouse years, that is not a few extra days. That is the difference between dying at 70 and living past 90. But here's where it gets strange. This only worked if the mice started the pattern young. Mice who began the exact same every other day schedule later in life got almost no benefit at all. Same food, same schedule, same species, completely different result, just based on when they started. A newer study made this even more specific. Researchers looked at genetically different mice on restricted feeding schedules and found something else that mattered just as much as how often they ate. When they ate. Mice fed only during their natural active hours. At night lived up to 34% longer than mice fed the same amount during the day. Same total food. Same fasting hours. Different clock. Different outcome. So scientists went looking inside these mice to find out what was actually changing. They found the fasting mice were not just thinner. Their blood sugar was lower. Their insulin was lower. Their brain cells were more resistant to damage. One study tested this directly. Researchers injected a neurotoxin into the brains of both groups. The fasting mice's neurons survived the attack better. Their bodies had learned to defend themselves before the danger even arrived. Here's the part almost nobody mentions. A follow-up study found something surprising. The fasting mice lived longer, but they did not necessarily stay healthier longer. Read that again. Living longer and staying young longer are not automatically the same thing. The fasting mice still developed cataracts. They still developed tumors. Just later. Their bodies were not stopping aging entirely. They were pushing back the deadline on death itself without rewinding every part of the clock. Why would skipping food on a schedule do any of this? The leading theory comes down to stress. Real stress, the kind your cells are built to respond to. When no food is coming, your cells stop focusing purely on growth. They shift into a repair and defense mode instead. Old damaged proteins get cleared out. Cells become more resistant to injury. Your body behaves as if something difficult is happening and prepares for it. Feed the body constantly, and it never receives that signal. It just keeps growing, without ever properly cleaning house. Now, you are probably wondering, does any of this actually apply to humans? Nobody can run an 80-year fasting experiment on people. That would take an entire human lifetime to prove directly. But shorter human studies already show the same early signals the mice showed. Lower blood sugar, lower insulin, cells that respond better to stress. These mouse studies are not proof that humans will live twice as long. Nobody honest would claim that. But they are some of the strongest evidence we have that giving your body real, regular breaks from food changes something measurable at the cellular level. Something tied directly to how your body handles age. Here's the catch, and it genuinely matters. Timing mattered enormously in these studies. Starting young helped the most. Starting old barely helped at all. This is exactly why doctors recommend caution with aggressive fasting later in life, especially with an existing health condition. Always check with a doctor before changing how you eat, particularly if you are older or managing a condition. So what is the real takeaway here? It is not never eat. The fasting mice were never starved to death. They ate completely normally on their eating days. The only difference was, on other days, they got a real, uninterrupted break. That break appears to be the actual trigger, not eating fewer calories overall across the week. The break itself. The gap. Enough time without food for the body to shift out of growth mode and into repair mode. That is the entire idea behind intermittent fasting in humans, too. Not starvation. Just consistent, real gaps between meals, long enough for your body to do the maintenance work it only performs when nothing is coming in. The mice in that lab did not know they were making scientific history. They were simply living on a schedule with real breaks built in. If you want to actually do this yourself, come join our community. Share your recipes and ideas. Track your progress. Read over 500 articles. Join a monthly challenge. It's all waiting for you at fastinginpractice.com. Follow for more real, research-backed fasting videos. fastinginpractice.com.